Let's get this sports podcast party started, all right?
The JAYREELZ podcast.
Why don't you wait until July 1st to make an announcement? What a disgrace. He can rack up all these numbers in October, November, and December, but what really counts is let me see this in January.
The sports rebel without a pause, delivering fast-paced, jam-packed sports talk like no other.
Listen, I gotta call it as I see it. He is not a good player. I'm sick and tired of having to deal with the disappointment of this franchise. When does it stop? And yes, another winter that I can sleep in peace. Coming directed in full effect. Let's get it.
This is the JAYREELZ podcast. Welcome aboard.
What is happening, my good people? Greetings. How are you? How's it going? How's everybody doing out there? What is the latest and greatest? Hope everybody's doing well, feeling fantastic, in excellent spirits. Almost closing out the first quarter of 2026. I understand we still got about 5 days to go, but before you know it, it'll be April Fools, but we still have plenty of time between now and then and plenty of sports talk to uncover, so you come to the right place to listen to it all, as this is the JAYREELZ podcast with JAYREELZ. For my first timers, welcome aboard. And for those who've been banging with me going back to the very beginning, somewhere in the middle, or even as early as this past Monday, I welcome you guys and gals back. And before I even get to the tournament, we understand that March Madness will tip off again starting tonight with 4 games. Obviously, we want to see who's going to get to a Final Four there in Indianapolis, which will be a week from this coming Saturday. But I have to spend a couple of minutes just to really put I don't want to say the ribbon or the bow, but to get everything ready for an opening day. And yes, last night was the opener. And well, I'll get to that in a moment. But today, hope springs eternal. Because when you look outside, especially here in the Northeast, it's actually going to be very mild today, albeit temporary, because by Saturday, game 2 between Mets and Pirates, the high is going to be, count them, 40 degrees. But today is going to be somewhere in the upper 60s, and it may even touch 70. And for those people from coast to coast that think that, maybe my team has a shot, or maybe by Memorial Day we could be still in the running for a wild card spot, even though we can't even think to even discuss wild card here on Memorial Day. But what I will say is this. When the baseball season begins, as it will today, it's almost like an exhale, because we do know that warmer days are coming. We do know that a new season is about to be uncovered and the curtain being raised. And it's just a great feeling. Major League Baseball and their opening day should be, and I know it will never be, a national holiday, because even the NFL, which I'm going to talk about later on, even them, as great as they are, the impenetrable shield, etc., their opening day doesn't hold a candle next to baseball. That's the one thing baseball has over them. But then once the season begins, it almost gets forgotten, because it is a marathon. It is a slog to get to October. And then once October comes, it's glorious and it's beautiful. It's the best sport. But with all that being said, last night, Yankees-Giants, and it really isn't much to discuss. Logan Webb, the Giant ace, second inning, gives up 5 runs. He implodes. Yankees then tack on 2 runs later on, and that is your ball game. The big story there is Aaron Judge, the golden sombrero to start off the season. The first time, I believe, he's been hitless on an opening day. All right. And Max Fried, 6 1/3, 2 hits, a walk. I believe he had 4 strikeouts. And, the Yankee pitching, they're starting pitching when they're healthy and when they start coming back, whether that's Carlos Rodon, maybe by the end of April, early May. Garrett Cole coming back from Tommy John, whether that could be around Memorial Day or soon thereafter. Luis Gil, the former Rookie of the Year, who I don't even believe he's going to start in this opening situation, where with the day off today, they have the 2 games Friday and Saturday in San Francisco, and then a rare Sunday day off before going to Seattle. So chances are you may see Max Fried pitch Monday in Seattle, considering the 2 days off and opening up that series against the Mariners. So the Yankees off and running. They're flying. shut out in their first game. Giants had no answers for the Yankee pitching, and that's all she wrote. Now, the game was on Netflix last night. I didn't watch start to finish, but Matt Vasgersian, who was the play-by-play guy, very good play-by-play guy, nothing really to say about him. And I believe you had Hunter Pence and CeCe Sabathia in the booth. And I'm sorry. I don't want to start throwing ice cold water on people, on broadcasters, things of that nature, because you love CeCe Sabathia, Karsten Charles, as they used to call him, because that is his name, where he was a big game pitcher. We know his career, Hall of Famer, over 3,000 strikeouts, won a World Series, even a short time with the Brewers, led them to the postseason until they imploded against the Philadelphia Phillies. That was back in 2008. But CeCe Sabathia, he's got to go back in the lab because he's just got to get more reps. He's just very unpolished. He's very raw. And what I saw from him last night, or what I heard by watching parts of the game, is that, and he knows the game. I mean, nobody's going to knock him for that, but you got to have a better stream of consciousness than saying a million you knows and just being very, let's face it, matter of fact. Not to say that he doesn't bring something as he does, but he needs to bring more than just the obvious and the cliches and all that. And I get it. He's a color commentator. He's not trying to reinvent the wheel. He's not. I understood. And I'm not making this a thing where I'm picking on him in particular. But this is what happens when you have, whether it's Apple TV, whether it's Netflix now. Is Amazon Prime getting into the baseball game? I probably are, now that I think about it. Maybe not. Well, no, Peacock. So you're going to get a lot of these former players that are going to be in the booth being a commentator of the game, and you want them to be fair. You want them to be, of course, honest, but are you going to get that? And I didn't really get that. And Hunter Pence didn't really but CeCe, to me, he stuck out a little bit more on the negative than Hunter Pence did in my eyes. And I'm sure when he gets more reps, it's going to improve, but that's just me. I'll move it along from there. But that was your game last night. And when we look at the schedule over the weekend, you're not going to get sexy matchups. You're not going to get, we all know tonight, you're going to have Dodgers, Diamondbacks, as they will raise another banner there to the top of the flagpole at Chavez Ravine. But you have the 1 o'clock game, NBC, as they reintroduce themselves into our consciousness when it comes to broadcasting games, especially on over-the-air TV. And for NBC, I believe they're going to have Matt Vasgersian there. Now, he's going to do the Sunday night, but considering this is their opener, and with Paul Skeens, the reigning Cy Young Award winner from the National League, going up against a Met team that obviously has big-time expectations and big-time pressure, if you didn't know or listen or watch, yesterday I did my Major League Baseball preview. It's on the channel. Just go to the channel and find it there. I'm sure it's probably highlighted. I just did it yesterday. So if you want to get your fill on everything that's going to happen in the 2026 baseball season, that's where you could go to. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so. I would sincerely appreciate that. But with the Mets hosting the Pirates and with Skeens on the mound, I get it. The Pirates, who knows what they're going to do this year. I hope that they're going to be a team that's on the rise a little bit, obviously with a lot of young talent, but also some of the veterans that they brought in. All right, they're not going to be world beaters, but still with Skeens on the clock there in Pittsburgh, how I look at it is that they have to have some improvement starting this year. That's not saying they got to be in the playoffs or they got to win 90 games, but would you like to see them maybe within arm's length of that final wildcard spot when you get to late August, dare I even say early September? Why not? So with that game being on NBC, I'll be with a watchful eye to see how that broadcast goes. The other games this weekend of note or series, you have, I'll go through all of them. The White Sox are in Milwaukee. Washington at Chicago, of course, the Cubs. Minnesota, Baltimore. Boston at Cincinnati. That's a very good series to open up the season there at the Great American Ballpark. I don't even think it's called that anymore, for all I know. Angels are in Houston. Detroit, San Diego, not a bad start there. Series to go from Southern California. Texas at Philadelphia. Tampa at St. Louis. Arizona, as you know, against the Dodgers. Cleveland at Seattle. And then tomorrow you have other series beginning, which will be the Athletics in Toronto, Colorado at Miami, Kansas City at Atlanta. And that rounds out your baseball for the weekend. And Apple TV has Angels at Houston, Cleveland at Seattle. Let me see. Fox has Kansas City at Atlanta, but they're going to show here locally Yankees-Giants. And then FS1 has Minnesota at Baltimore. And then Sunday night, let me see. NBC, are they going to do a Sunday night game this early? Well, they're going to do a Peacock, which is Cleveland at Seattle. All right. So you're not going to get a Sunday night. And I guess maybe because, no, the final game to see who goes to the Final Four will be played. It'll be done by then. But that is your opening weekend for the baseball. And, I'll be on top of that, and we'll monitor that throughout the weekend. Any interesting storylines. I'll be back on Monday for the next podcast to cover it. Now I'm going to turn my attention as I lace up the high tops and go to the tournament, meaning March Madness, NCAA, as the Sweet 16 will tip off tonight. And in fact, let me get back here real quick as I pull up the graphic. Why not? I didn't pull up the graphic for the baseball. My apologies there. But here's what you got. You're going to have 8 games over the next 2 nights. I'll break them down. Obviously, past that, I can't tell you because we're going to have to wait and see about the 2 games on Saturday and the 2 games on Sunday, which will close out the weekend, and we'll know who the Final Four will be. But before we get to that, some of the top storylines coming into the weekend. Number one, you got to wonder about the status of Joshua Jefferson, the Iowa State forward, as they look to see if they could get to an Elite Eight and a Final Four in their own right. The Cyclones, who have had a big year, as you know. I think the juiciest plot lines here has to be the East region, where you have Duke against St. John's, Michigan State going up against UConn, and the behemoths of coaches that are in that bracket alone, whether your name is Rick Pitino, Danny Hurley, Tom Izzo, and even though John Shire, which I'm sure he is ecstatic knowing that he is grouped in together with those coaches, but they are Duke. And when we look at those 4 games, or excuse me, those 4 teams, we all know that Duke has aspirations of getting back to a Final Four, which they did last year, but lost in the semifinal. And then Michigan State, who lost in the regional final to Auburn last year. And now that I think about it, didn't Duke lose to Houston? Right, because Florida beat Houston in the final. But who did Florida beat off the top of my head? Drawing blanks here. Oh, Auburn. Hello. Because obviously Auburn then beat Michigan State to get to a Final Four. So with those teams trying to get back to a Final Four, UConn, after going back-to-back, heading into last season's tournament, but then they lost in the, I believe they lost in the regional semi. So they got thwarted at that point. But this is a region where you already have heard Danny Hurley saying that if it's St. John's, UConn for a 4th time, they want all the fans from Stores, all the fans from New York to come on down to, which would be just an incredible game. But at the same time, I don't know if I want to see a UConn St. John's game again, because all the games, except for the first one, they've been blowouts. The first game at the Garden, where I believe St. John's won by double digits over UConn. Then later on in this season, the Red Storm were anything but that. They didn't score a field goal in the final 17 minutes of that second game up in Stores. They lost by, 32, I think it was. I think it was 72-40. And then the Big East final, which was a no contest, St. John's running away, winning by 20-some-odd. I believe they won by 20, to be exact. And to think if there's going to be a 4th game, I don't want any part of that. I'd rather see, listen, if St. John's or UConn advance, fine. But I don't want to see them match up against one another. I don't. Now, how I look at these two games, and I'll start there. I probably should have gone in order from Thursday because those games aren't until Friday. But to me, St. John's, I think they're going to have to be physical. Obviously, you have to get major contributions outside of Zubi Ojiofor, and I think Dylan Darling is going to be a guy that's going to have to, not say he's got to light up the scoreboard, but he's going to have to contribute a lot more than a game-winning basket that he had there on Sunday against Kansas. But we know that they're going to play fast and furious, so you know they're going to try to do what they can to slow down Cameron Boozer, slow down that Duke. I don't want to say they're methodical, but they're a team, as you know, and even though they're injured too, we're waiting to see Caleb Foster, but it's a situation where if St. John's plays their game and Duke happens to fall into that, where John Shire, their head coach, is not going to say, wait a minute, we cannot play their game. We're going to play their game. We're going to lose. If they stay away from that, open up a lead, have St. John's come from behind, that's where it's going to be a problem for the Red Storm. St. John's doesn't say they have to play from in front because we know if they're going to be hovering within 5, 6 at best, St. John's has a shot. But if Duke is able to play their game and get off to a sizable lead, I could see St. John's pressing, trying to do too much, and therefore they're going to play into Duke's hands, and Duke will win the game. And I think Duke is going to win. And I don't want Duke to go far. In my bracket, I have Michigan State coming out of the East. But I really think that if St. John's is in the game, second half, I'll say within 6, because you figure 2 possessions, that's all you ask for. You don't want it to be a thing where it's 57-42 with about 9 minutes left to go in the game, Duke. I think the first to 60 is going to win, and I think that will be the Blue Devils. Now, as far as Michigan State and UConn, Michigan State, they're a team that is just exactly that. They're not sexy. They're not overpowering. They don't have like the one stud that you can look at on the team to be like, all right. No, they are comprised of a unit that is going to come at you, that is obviously going to defend. And interesting because we could talk about past teams of Tom Izzo that have been much ballyhooed and much heralded with big-time players, but they haven't won anything. And as I mentioned on Monday's podcast, they're the last Big Ten team to win a national championship. So that's 26 years ago. And here in the Sweet 16, you have 6 Big Ten teams that are left standing. So, and that's another storyline, too, that I was going to get at. But considering I got stuck here with the East region and all the powerhouse teams and the coaches, this is why I think Michigan State, because they're not under the radar, but because they're not ballyhooed and the other teams in that region are. And I'm saying St. John's has never won a thing. They haven't been to a Final Four since '85. But because of Pitino, that coach, and we know Hurley and their recent pedigree, and obviously Duke is Duke, where Michigan State is just kind of laying in the weeds. And UConn, even though they're a year removed from their back-to-back, and certainly do not have the depth that they had in years past, but of course they are dangerous. But I think Michigan State, because UConn doesn't have those studs, and I understand you go get Alex Caravan, he's been there, he's a winning player, won championships, but yeah, there's no Stephon Castle, there's no Donovan Clingan, there aren't guys like that on the team, and yes, there are complementary parts, but this is why I like Michigan State to beat UConn. Because I'm sure there's a lot of people going to think that the fan base is going to come down to D.C. and it's going to be an automatic home win and home team for the Huskies. But I think Izzo will find a way to advance. And if it happens to be Michigan Duke or Michigan State, Michigan State, Duke, or St. John's, I think because of the way the team is comprised, that's why I picked them to go to the Final Four. And that's why I see there in the East. Now, the other storyline is, like I mentioned, about these 6 Big Ten teams. And I think Michigan, I'll go to their region now in the Midwest. Now, the only other team that you have there, now you have an SEC team. You don't have another Big Ten team there. But Alabama, listen, they can shoot the lights out of the ball and give them credit for what they've done so far in the tournament. But Michigan, they've been a stud the whole year. I can't see them hiccuping here. I think Alabama, listen, they're going to be tough. To me, Alabama, if they shoot in the 80s, meaning if they score over 80, all bets are off. But they have to have that type of game. As you saw there, beating Texas Tech. Now, I understand they didn't have their top player in a one, JT Toppin, but they scored 90. And the previous game against Hofstra, and I get it, they're Hofstra, they scored 90. Michigan's going to bring defense. Michigan's going to bring grit, their toughness. And if Alabama's going to shoot the lights out, that's how they're going to win the game. And I don't think Michigan's going to do that. I don't think they're going to let Alabama breathe from the standpoint of them shooting a million threes, or even if Michigan gets into, let's say, a double-digit lead, we know that Alabama, they could go on a heater and get back in the game. I can see Michigan winning this game, maybe not soundly. Maybe they'll pull away late, but I can see the Wolverines winning this game when it's all said and done. And as far as Tennessee, Iowa State, Tennessee's similar to Alabama in a sense where they could score the lights out without question. But my thing is that Iowa State, if their key player, Joshua Jefferson, is going to be out, that's going to be a big boon for Tennessee. Now, we know Iowa State, listen, they have players other than Jefferson. I understand that. But I just want to pull up one thing here about this bracket. The way that Iowa State has played all year, and even without Jefferson early on here in this tournament, but the main thing that I'm going to look at, if Tennessee is going to have that similar type of game where Alabama, that's why I think Iowa State could get into some trouble. And if it's going to be a situation where if Tennessee's going to play from in front, I think that's going to be dangerous for Iowa State. And Tennessee, they also have a very good backcourt in their own right. And how I look at – wait, what is this here? Yeah, and how I look at Tennessee with Jacoby Gillespie and the other kid, that's why I pulled this up because I can't pronounce his name. Hold on a second. But I feel that Tennessee is going to be a tough out here. Now, I have them advancing here over Iowa State only because I'm trying to be different. You know, I don't want to go chalk on all these. You know, I don't want it a 1 versus a 2 and all that. As you know by my predictions a week ago, I have a 4 seed Arkansas, a 3 seed Michigan State, 2 seed Houston, and 1 seed in Michigan meeting up in the Final Four. I'm not one to just have 1s and 2s there in the regional final. So I picked Tennessee here, and I think they're going to win the game. I know Jefferson, his injury, if he's going to play, I understand it's going to be a big boost, but I like Tennessee here. And then after that, of course, I'm picking Michigan because based on everything they did. And could they lose in this? Absolutely. If Alabama's going to be red hot, Michigan may be on their heels. And Tennessee, same for them. And even if they face Iowa State, even without Jefferson, Iowa State could have been a 1 seed as early as the latter part of February, a month ago this time. But they lost some games down the stretch, and they ended up being a 2 seed. So they are stiff competition by any means. But I think this is Michigan's bracket to lose. That's why I have them coming out of this region. In the South, now I know a lot's going to be talked about Iowa, Nebraska, because those are the 2 teams there that they're a 4 seed. All right, 4 is going to get there, as we see in some of the other brackets. But Iowa, stunning Florida, as we saw. And one of those 2 teams are going to advance. We know about Nebraska. They're on this Indiana Hoosier football trajectory here. A football school that has a basketball team that's riding high, where Indiana, we know, is a basketball school, and the football team was on a magic carpet ride to a national championship. Now here, listen, I had Florida in this game against, Nebraska, and I had Florida advancing to play Houston. But this game here, Iowa, I don't know if the Cinderella is going to shatter here. They played they played twice in the regular season. They did not play in the Big Ten tournament. But Iowa, I think is going to be dangerous here. I think Nebraska will win, though, but they're going to be dangerous. I would not be shocked if it's 2 minutes to go and Iowa's up by 6. Or if it's a nail-biter. But I'm just going to go based on Nebraska, their karma, the good feel. And I understand you can't go all based on that. But I want to see them move on here. And if Iowa advances, I mean, good for them. But I think they're going to go up against Houston in this next round because I got them obviously going to the Final Four. But Illinois is going to be tough. Illinois can score. They're similar to the other teams that I mentioned with Alabama and even Tennessee. They're going to be dangerous. But I think Houston's tenacity, obviously I know they have a home game there that's going to be in the Toyota Center, which, please, they could bring the whole state of Illinois. They're not going to be able to get in that building. So that's why I think Houston's going to advance. And then if they go up against Iowa and Nebraska, listen, could they beat Houston? Listen, they got to that point for a reason. But I think I'd like Nebraska more than Iowa because I would almost think that the clock would strike 12 on Iowa if they were to get to a regional final to go up against Houston or even Illinois for that matter. But, yeah, I just feel that Iowa, I would not be surprised if they win this game. I'm rooting for Nebraska, but I don't think if Iowa does advance, they're not going to get past either Illinois or Houston in my eyes. But listen, this is why we watch. It's a one-game elimination tournament, and anything can happen. And then the final region, which is really intriguing because you have the 1, the 2, and the 4 seed. The 3 seed was ousted thanks to Texas. And here's the story with the Longhorns. They're also on their magic carpet ride because they're the only double-digit seed that's left. And I'm sure a lot of people are going to count this team out. They're going to say they got no shot against Purdue. Purdue's been obviously a big-time team here over the last couple of years. And Matt Painter, the coach of Purdue, he knows his way around these games and knows how to play against these types of teams. Yeah, I think Texas, the clock will definitely strike 12 on him in this point here. And I have Purdue advancing to play Arkansas as I tip my hand beforehand. Listen, I think Arizona, they're going to give Arkansas all they can, but I believe they have the best player on the floor in Darius Acuff. And I know Arizona's going to do whatever it takes to try to slow him down. And I can see Arizona doing whatever it takes to have Darius Acuff to have a 11 for 23 type of game from the floor, where he may score 27 points, but it's going to take him 23 attempts to get to that number, or maybe even higher than that. Listen, I can see Arizona winning this game, but I like Arkansas. I like Calipari. I know Calipari, he's a recruiter. He's not an X and O guy, but he does get a lot out of his guys. And I think Acuff, he's the one player to watch, not only just in this game, I just think in the whole tournament because of what he's been able to do, what we saw there in the last game against High Point. Tied at 83, scored 7 unanswered there down the stretch, and Arkansas went ahead to win the game. But there's just something about that player, even Cal. I understand Arizona is going to bring maybe more eyeballs to the sets, but people don't watch the game for the head coaches. I get it. But people know who John Calipari is. He's been to many Final Fours, various teams, UMass, Kentucky, obviously with what he did there at Memphis with Derrick Rose. So, and again, I'm just doing this to be different. If I'm a betting man, which I'm not, I would think Arizona's going to win. But listen, why not Arkansas? And with having that type of player, which you know could carry the load, just think the last year with Florida and Walter Clayton Jr. and what he was able to do en route to a national championship. I think the same way of Acuff here in this scenario. So That's how I look at it. That doesn't mean that Arizona can't win or you're going to see Arizona, Purdue. I mean, watch it be chalk. Watch it be Arizona, Purdue, Michigan, Iowa State. You're going to have Nebraska and Houston. That'll be a 2-4 matchup. And then you'll have Duke and UConn, which will bring back memories of the game in the Meadowlands where Leitner hit the shot, not the Kentucky game. This was later on, that Duke UConn. I think that was a regional final as well, where on the baseline, Leitner hit that jumper to close it out. And that's the one thing that you like about this round before I pivot, is that you have a couple of Cinderellas there in Iowa and Texas. You don't have a few others that are hanging around. To me, you have the creme de la creme that's there. I understand Florida's out, but you still have the 3 number ones. You have all the 2s that are there, UConn, Purdue, Iowa State, and Houston. You have 3 of the 4 3 seeds, and you have 3 of the 4 4 seeds. I mean, that's all you could ask for. Because what that's going to mean here for this coming weekend, starting tonight, I'll go through the schedule in a minute, is that you're going to have, in all likelihood, highly competitive games. You may not see a blowout here. All right, maybe if Iowa gets to a regional final, you could see a blowout there. Texas against Purdue, you may see a blowout. All right, fine. I mean, are you expecting a blowout with Duke St. John's? Michigan State, UConn? Illinois, Houston? I don't see it. Arizona, Arkansas? So that is your college basketball. And let me get to the schedule here before I get to what has transpired down at Chapel Hill with the North Carolina Tar Heels. So your schedule tonight, CBS 7:10, Texas, Purdue. That region is San Jose, of course. That's the West, where you have Arkansas, Arizona at 9:45. And then on TBS True TV, you have Iowa, Nebraska, and Illinois, Houston. That will be your opening night here as we get reacquainted with the tournament. And then tomorrow at 7:10 down in D.C., St. John's and Duke, followed by Alabama, Michigan, there at the United Center on TBS and True, Michigan State, UConn, Tennessee, Iowa State, 9:45 and 10:10 p.m. And then Saturday, you'll have the 2 games. Don't know what the times are, but historically, that Saturday game would be, I think, like 5:10, and then they want to have that game in prime time, which we don't know if that's going to be the Houston game. We would think if Houston advances, and then the teams out west. And then Sunday, it's usually 2:40 and then 5:10, and that 5:10 will be the CBS game. That will be the East game. And I know it says right here, DC is first and Chicago second. If Michigan advances, that will be the 2:40 game. And then I believe it's Iron, Bill Raftery, Grant Hill. They'll have the nightcap leading into 60 minutes there on Sunday. And we'll recap it on Monday for a Final Four. Now, Hubert Davis, after that just inexplicable loss to VCU last Thursday, took a few days, but he gets fired, I believe it was late Tuesday afternoon. And Hubert Davis, who had his moments, or really had his one moment in 2022, getting to a Final Four national championship where they lost to Kansas and they beat Duke in the semifinal. Now falling on hard times, back-to-back years losing in the first round. That is so un-North Carolina-like, to where he gets his walking papers. Was it deserved? I guess when you have 2 years when you're out in the first round, and this one when you had a 19-point lead in the second half and lose in overtime, that was just too much for him to swallow, as now they're going to look to see who the next head coach is. I know you've heard all the rumors, whether it's Billy Donovan, whether it's I believe the Iowa State coach has also been rumored. I guess the one guy that I look at, and those are two coaches that they're going outside the family. So it's not as if they're bringing in Roy Williams when he left Kansas, because, of course, his days go back, way back with North Carolina many moons ago. Or a guy like Hubert Davis, who, of course, played on the team. And the rumors about Kenny Smith, when you don't see him on the dais there during pregame and halftime of the tournament, you wonder, is he going for an interview? I think the one guy that would be a candidate, and if you want to keep it in the family, is Jerry Stackhouse. He's bounced around, NBA, Vanderbilt, is with Golden State right now. I'm surprised that nobody's buzzing his tower to see whether or not he would be interested in the job. And why not? He was there for 2 years back in the mid-'90s, played with Rasheed Wallace, was in a Final Four there in 95. That was the year UCLA won. That was the Ed O'Bannon team. And I believe they played in a regional, not a regional. I believe they played in the semifinal that year. Was it UCLA playing North Carolina? And then UCLA played, off the top of my head, I can't recall who they played in the final. That'll have to look up. But why not Stackhouse? I think for a guy that's been around, obviously knows the university, so it's not like you're bringing in Billy Donovan, who's been Florida as head coach, winning 2 titles, and then going to the NBA with OKC and Chicago, etc. But how I look at it is that why not him? If he hasn't even been reached out to or no rumors, I mean, I believe that'd be the guy. Yeah, as a matter of fact, UCLA beat Arkansas. That's right, because they won the year before. I should have known that. 94, Nolan Richardson, of course. And then Oklahoma State was the other team, and North Carolina. And I remember Carolina that year. They beat Allen Iverson in a regional semi that year. And, yeah, they ended up losing. Yeah, Jim Harrick was the coach. Ed O'Bannon, yes. And that was the year that Stackhouse played with Rasheed Wallace on that team. So, yeah, that'd be my guess. I don't know anything, and that'd be my choice. Because you're not going to get Kenny Smith to go there. I mean, he hasn't coached. The guy's been on TNT and doing all these, inside the NBA. I'd be shocked if he wants to coach. So that's what we had there with the college basketball. To stick with hoops, I'll transition to the NBA right now. And I'll get to your comments. Everybody's posted comments. Please stick around. I'll get to them at the top of the next hour. So you want to stand by. Yeah, let's get these out of here. I know I just talked about Hubert Davis, who's the next Tar Heel coach. All right, so real quick, NBA, the home stretch. The season concludes 2 weeks from this Sunday. Did you know that? And by this time, 3 weeks from now, we'll be in between who will advance to the tournament as a 7 seed, where the 8 seeded games will be Friday, 3 weeks from tomorrow. But the NBA home stretch that we have here, as you see there in the graphics, Celtics snapping OKC's 12-game win streak last night. That was a big win for the Celtics. They lost to them in Oklahoma City just a week and a half. What was it? Last week it was, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, last Thursday. And for the Celtics, still Jason Tatum trying to get acclimated. And what I've seen from Tatum so far is that, he's been taking a lot of jumpers. I don't know if he trusts his leg to get to the basket. I know at times he has, but we understand that there's still a feel-out process for him as he's getting himself back into basketball game shape. But Jaylen Brown carried the mail there last night, 33 points. I believe it was, 38, 8, and 7. Tremendous by him. And the Celtics trying to stay ahead to have that 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, as the Knicks have won 7 in a row. Now I understand they've beaten the dregs of the league. They beat New Orleans. They beat the Wizards. They're just beating bad teams. And tonight they actually play Charlotte, which is more of a test for Charlotte than it is for the Knicks. As the NBA schedule is light tonight, I'll go over that in a moment. But how I look at the way the NBA is, and you know that the East is what it is with that 2-3 seed, because if you get the 2 seed, at least you'll have 2 home series if it plays out that way. And I'll go through the standings in a moment. But the West, as you know, that's been a mess there from 3 to 6. We know that the top 10 seeds are going to make it because no other teams outside the top 10, especially trying to infiltrate that 7 to 10 playing tournament, the teams are just way too far behind. So you don't get a lot of intrigue with that bottom part of the bracket. But the other thing of note that I want to discuss here, as I'll get out of this for a second, I know I don't want to say outrage, but there's been a little bit of an uproar, maybe too strong, where the NBA player who doesn't meet the 65-game threshold of the postseason awards, whether that be the MVP, All-NBA first team, second team, etc. I know the agent for Cade Cunningham, Jeff Schwartz, who I believe is also Kyrie's agent, had come out to say that, oh, this is unfair, this isn't right. I got a guy in Cade Cunningham who's played the whole year, but he has a serious injury with a collapsed lung. It's not as if he's tweaked an ankle or has a bum hammy that he's nursing and he could come back in the lineup. Where collapsed lung, there wasn't anything you could do about it, and he's going to probably miss more time past the 65-game ledger that the NBA put out a few years ago. And how I look at it is tough. Maybe there could be some exceptions, though, where you're having that MVP type year, and if a collapsed lung, or remember last year where Victor Wembanyama had that blood clot where they shut him down the last third of the year, all right, maybe there could be an exception in that regard. But yeah, a hamstring, an ankle, heaven forbid, what you saw there with Moses Moody the other night, I mean, that was just an ugly scene there of the Warriors. Something like that, maybe you could look at that and say, all right, there could be an exception. But if you miss 5 games with an ankle and you come back and you miss 5 games again because you tweak that ankle or the hammy or a foot, whatever it may be, tough. In fact, they should just keep it at 65 games. Because with the way the NBA has been over the last decade and a half with the load management, come on, you're going to have a guy play 50 games and he's going to be eligible for an MVP? That's not right. Not fair. Or first-team All-NBA where you could get the Supermax deal based on that type of award. And Jaylen Brown, a guy who I don't think is going to win the MVP, but may end up being top 5 when it's all said and done. On one of his live streams came out and said that, you can't have a guy playing 40, 50 games be the MVP to a guy that's played 70, 75 games. And he's right. And it's good for him to stand up and say that because it's not as if he's a 6th man or a guy that's part of the rotation as a 7th, 8th, or 9th guy coming off the bench. You know, he's not the 12th or 15th player on the team that says, yeah, no, he's not the rank and file. Guy's probably going to get, I would think, at least 2nd team All-NBA this year. He may get first, but I don't think he will. So for the NBA and the agents or the players, if they're going to come out and say, this isn't right, this isn't fair, they got to change, they got to adjust, tough. If you want to make exceptions to a particular injury similar to what I mentioned about Cade Cunningham, or let's say a guy that's played how many games? Let's say they played 71 games. And most teams have played almost 72 games because I believe there's about 10, 11 games left in the season. And if you played, let's say, 61 games to date, and you know that if you play the next 10 or 11, you're going to pass the 65-game threshold. But let's say somebody now has a blood clot where they got to shut him down, or collapsed lung where he can't play the rest of the year. He's going to be stuck at 61, and because he was an MVP candidate, hey, can we get a mulligan? All right, in that case, maybe the NBA should look into that and say, you know what, this is a very extreme case, rare case, fine. But for the guy who's missed X amount of games earlier this year and in the middle of the season, and now that same injury is cropped up again to where he's done? No. I'm not buying. And they should definitely stick to their guns with that, because then what? Then you're going to have a bunch of other players with all these injuries come down and, oh, I've only played 58. Oh, I played 57. Oh, come on, I played 62. No, 65 is it. Just like there is in baseball, you have to qualify with enough at-bats to win a batting title. Well, if you want to be an MVP, you want to be Defensive Player of the Year, you want to be an All-NBA guy, you want to get the Supermax deal, then you got to play X amount of games. Case closed. Now, as far as the schedule goes, tonight, very light. Knicks and Charlotte, New Orleans, Detroit, Sacramento, Orlando. Oof, that's brutal. Watch the baseball, if anything. Or maybe the hockey. Depends on what you're into. Now, as far as tomorrow and the weekend goes, and none of those games, well, the Knicks, Charlotte's on NBA TV. But as far as the Friday night and games of note, Atlanta at Boston. You have 3 NBA TV games. Miami at Cleveland. And Miami actually destroyed Cleveland last night in Cleveland. So they're there, obviously, for the next couple of days. Chicago, Oklahoma City. Dallas at Portland. All NBA TV games. Games of note? None. I mean, teams that are in the mix, whether that's Brooklyn at the Lakers, Washington at Golden State, Utah at Denver, but those are not sexy matchups. Saturday, San Antonio at Milwaukee, which is on Prime. Detroit at Minnesota, ABC. Utah at Phoenix, NBA TV. And in between, Philadelphia at Charlotte, Sacramento, Atlanta, and Chicago, Memphis. Sunday, NBA TV, Clippers in Milwaukee. Your NBC double dip. And Peacock, of course. New York at Oklahoma City, Golden State at Denver. And then in between, Boston at Charlotte, Miami at Indiana, Sacramento, Brooklyn. I mean, yeah, it's slim pickings. Orlando at Toronto. All right, not bad there. Washington, Portland, Houston, New Orleans. And, yeah, that is it for your NBA. Now, with the standings real quick, yeah, everything is pretty much status quo. You know, from 5 to 10 in the East, you're separated by 2.5 games. In order, Atlanta, Toronto, Philly, Miami, Charlotte, Orlando. And it's pretty much stayed the same since Monday. Out West, I know the Spurs have now won 7 in a row. And with the loss last night, they're 2 games back of the Thunder for the best record in the sport, because the Pistons are going to catch either the Spurs or Thunder at this point. Now, they'll have the 1 seed throughout the East, but that is it. Then you have Lakers, Nuggets, T-Wolves, Rockets, which there's been a little bit of separation, where the Nuggets are a game and a half behind, 2 in the loss of the Lakers for that 3 seed. Minnesota, who had a great comeback yesterday, 15-0 run to close out the game against Houston. And that's why I'm not a big believer in Houston. They scare me. And I love Udoka. And brutal loss there last night. And they've had a lot of bad losses like that. The Knick game at the Garden about, 6-7 weeks ago. But you have T-Wolves, Rockets, who are 1 in the loss. But the Rockets are actually 2 back, because the Rockets have 2 games in hand on Denver. So keep that in mind as we go deeper into the season. And then you have Phoenix, who's comfortably at the 7. Probably won't reach the Rockets, who are 6, and they're 4 in the loss behind them. Then you have Portland, who is a half game behind the Clippers for that 8 seed. And then you have Golden State, who is 1 in the loss, but a game and a half back of Portland, and 2 back of the Clippers for the 8th seed, which is big, because I've said it a million times. You want to try to get them to be that 8th seed, because at least you'll have 2 shots. Maybe 1 if you win, but 2 shots to get to the postseason, as opposed to that 9-10 where you're 1 and done. And that is your NBA. Now, as I lace up the skates to go to the NHL, Nothing much really to dive into news-wise. Now, I know Connor McDavid, yeah, if you want to talk about that, 400 goals and 1,200 points, the third fastest to 1,200 points. I mean, McDavid is just, I mean, what could you say? I mean, the guy is, now he needs a cup, though. And I don't know if their team's going to get back there this year, considering they've gone to a Stanley Cup the last 2 years. But congrats to McDavid. I know Victor Hedman's going to be on a temporary leave, the Lightning captain, and, the Lightning have had a big season. That is the off-the-ice stuff. And as far as what's happening on the ice, we know that the divisions and the wild card, well, more so the 1 seed in the East and the wild cards are just bananas. Right now, the Sabres and Carolina Hurricanes both have 96 points. Carolina has a game in hand on them. Now, the Sabres have a 3-point advantage over the Lightning, 5 over the Canadiens right now. And remember, both the Lightning and Canadiens have 2 games in hand on the Sabres. So that could be a big boon for those 2 teams if they try to catch the Sabres at the end of the year. Then you have Carolina, 9 points over the Blue Jackets, who are a point ahead of the Penguins and are a point ahead of the Islanders, all trying to catch whether the 2, 3, or even the 2 seed in the wild card. Because the Senators currently have that as they've catapulted themselves over the Red Wings and Islanders to get that final spot, 3 points behind the Bruins for the first wild card spot. And the Islanders had a bad loss to the Blackhawks, had a 1-0 lead, and they prompted by giving up 4 unanswered goals before losing 4-3. And the Blackhawks, as you know, they're a dead team walking. So the interest is peaking there to see if the Islanders are going to make it. And it's crazy. They could be a 2 seed and host a playoff round, be a 3 seed to be entrenched to go on the road to that 2 seed, maybe get the second wild card spot, which means you're going to play the 1 seed. That could be the Buffalo or Carolina, or be completely out. And in that wild card chase, Red Wings are a point behind the Islanders and the Senators for that last spot, but the Islanders on the outside looking in, as you know. Then the Flyers are 5 points behind the Senators. Caps are 6 points behind, and that's it. Maple Leafs are 10 points, but forget it. And the Maple Leafs are trying to make a late run here as they've won 2 in a row. And then out west, Colorado's now put themselves, at least with some breathing room, winners of 3 in a row. The Stars have now lost 3 in a row, but the Stars are 7 points back of the NHL point-leading regular season Avalanche at 104. Minnesota at 92, 5 points behind the Stars. In the Pacific, the Ducks still have a 5-point advantage over Edmonton and 6 points over Vegas. Then you have Utah at 80, Nashville at 77. But then you have the Kings 3 points behind the Predators for the last spot, 4 points behind Vegas for the third spot in the Pacific. And then you have Seattle at 72. Same for Winnipeg, 5 points behind the Predators. And then San Jose is now 7 points as they have certainly hit the skids here, that young team. They've now lost 5 in a row, and they look like they're fading rather quickly. So that's the NHL. It is going to be fast and furious. And by the way, the NHL season concludes 3 weeks from tonight. And a lot of teams have anywhere between 9 to 12 games left. Yeah, Capitals have played 72, Minnesota 72. In fact, San Jose has 13 games left. They're the only team in the sport that has that many left on their schedule. And speaking of which, tonight, ESPN, Minnesota at Florida. Not a good game there. Edmonton at Vegas, 9:30. Excellent game there. And think about this. Vegas right now are what? 1 point behind? Yes. So Edmonton, they could put up a 3-point lead with a win tonight. Or if Vegas wins, they could leapfrog over Edmonton and get that 2 seed. So obviously we'll pay attention to that as we move it along. But the other games on the schedule of note, Dallas at the Islanders, Seattle at Tampa, Pittsburgh at Ottawa. That's a big game, Pittsburgh at Ottawa. And right now, what are they? Ottawa has that last playoff spot. Penguins 86, as you know. So, yeah, that is a big game. And then, yeah, nothing much with the other games. Washington, Utah, Chicago, Philadelphia, Anaheim, Calgary. Yeah, LA, the Kings, and Vancouver. So that's what you have there. Tomorrow, only 2 games. Detroit at Buffalo. Good game as the Red Wings try to fight for their playoff lives. Blackhawks and Rangers as 2 teams that are on their way, have been long on their way out. And I also have an interesting thing, which I'll close out with in a moment, regarding this playoff scenario. But the Blackhawks, who played Philadelphia last night, now back in the New York area, they'll play the Rangers tomorrow. And then they'll play the Devils Saturday. Is that an afternoon game? No. They'll play the Devils Sunday night. So they'll be in town over the weekend. The Blackhawks, that is. But Saturday, your schedule is Ottawa at Tampa, Florida at the Islanders, both 1 o'clock games. Anaheim at Edmonton, big game there, especially for the division. Minnesota, Boston, Dallas at Pittsburgh, Jersey, Carolina, San Jose, Columbus, Seattle at Buffalo, Toronto, St. Louis, Montreal, Nashville, Philly, Detroit. That's your ABC game. And then Washington at Vegas. All right. And then Sunday, Florida at New York. They play the Rangers, so they're in town over the weekend, which may mean they could be playing. No, they go back home after that. So Florida has matinees against the Islanders and Rangers over the weekend. Nashville, Tampa, Montreal, Carolina, Boston, Columbus, Chicago, New Jersey, Dallas, Philadelphia. That will round out your schedule. And Gary Bettman could spin this however he wants, but there is a possibility that the Stanley Cup playoffs, which will start 3 weeks from Saturday, they may not have not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5 of the original 6 teams not in the playoffs. And I don't care how he spins it. Oh, the ratings will be up. Oh, the National Hockey League, Stanley Cup playoff hockey is the best thing, which he's right. But you're not going to have the Blackhawks. You're not going to have the Rangers. You may not have the Red Wings because they're in a battle, as you know. You may not have – wait, so let me get this right. So Rangers, Blackhawks, Maple Leafs, those 3 teams are out. Done. Red Wings on the bubble. You have Montreal, who right now – let me go back to the standings real quick – are in the 3 spot, so they're going to be fine. So that is not a problem. And the Bruins, all right. They're hanging in. Now, they have the first wild card spot, but anything can happen. But all the others are done. Red Wings are on the bubble, like I said. They're on the outside looking in. But it's Red Wings, Maple Leafs, Rangers, Blackhawks. And quite possibly, if the Bruins somehow, some way don't make it, they could be out. So chew on that as you get to the Stanley Cup playoffs. All right, and lastly, this will be quick, people, and then I'll get to the comments. And I appreciate you guys' patience for hanging in there. Let me bring up the graphic here because this one will be funny. The NFL is NFLing again. JAYREELZ, what do you mean by that? Well, as you see there, the 49ers and Rams are going to play in Australia. And let me see, is that game in Melbourne? Let me look at that. As I type this live, 49ers Rams in Melbourne. That game is being played, yes, the Melbourne Cricket Ground. Obviously, they weren't going to play it where the Australian Open is. It's a tennis court. So, hear me out, people. And, you know, any time I can take a shot at the NFL, I'm going to do it. And listen, I love the NFL. It's one of those things where if you don't know about the NFL, don't know much about the NFL, which of course a lot of people do, you can't talk about it, but I can talk about it because I know and love the NFL. But that graphic that you saw, 49ers-Rams is official. They're going to play Thursday, September 10th in Melbourne. The game is going to be Eastern time, 8:30 a.m. Obviously, for those on the West Coast, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. But wait a minute, JAYREELZ. Thursday night, isn't that normally reserved for the Super Bowl winner? In this case, the Seattle Seahawks? Yes, you're right about that. But, oh, by the way, they're playing that game with the opponent still to be determined Wednesday, the night before. So you're going to have the season open up on a Wednesday in Seattle. Then on Thursday, which I'm sure that's going to be the Amazon Prime game where NBC is going to have the season opener. Don't forget, there's going to be a game in Rio de Janeiro where the Cowboys are going to be playing. In all likelihood, that's going to be Friday. But I got to give a shout out to my guy, DeNavis, who is part of our little YouTube community. Shout out to him. Where he came out just earlier today in my podcast pregame to say that there could be a New York team playing that Friday night after the game in Melbourne, which was an excellent point. Why? That will be September 11th, which will actually be the 25th anniversary of the attacks, not only the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and also what happened there outside of Pittsburgh in Pennsylvania, Flight 93. Which, who knows? There could be a potential. Now, watch the NFL get cute, have the game in Rio, which will probably be on Peacock, but then also have a doubleheader. So the Rio game could be like a 6 o'clock game, maybe? I don't know. Because I believe they're an hour ahead in Brazil. So I'll be 7 their time. Watch them have a 6 o'clock game and then an 8:30 game or 8:15, whatever you want to call it. Where they'll have the game in New York, it'll be the Jets or the Giants. Who knows? And away we go. And if that's going to be the case, you're going to have minimum 3 games before you get to the real opening day on Sunday with the NFL. But here's the two-part question that I just blows my mind. And I'll get back to the graphic. Why announce this now? Why are you announcing that the game's official on a Wednesday, March 25th? Maybe, just maybe, because it's opening day of the baseball season, game on Netflix, Yankees, Giants, the Bronx, the Bay Area, 2 cornerstone franchises in the sport. Then when the NFL said, let's throw this out for everybody, especially in the San Francisco area, where they can take their minds off of baseball for a hot second and think about the game that's going to be played in Australia 6 months from now, or technically 5.5 months. You don't think that's done on purpose? You don't think that's just thrown the kind of just needle MLB just a little bit? A little? A tiny bit? That's number one. And number two, why? And it's on the graphic here. But why are they leaking out these games? Why even have a NFL schedule release day? If you're going to leak it out, start doing it around the draft when football is part of our consciousness. Why? Does football have to be that thirsty to throw out when the 49ers or Rams are going to play? Why not today, where baseball opening day is really official? Why not announce when the Niner game is in Mexico? And I believe that game is in December, if I'm not mistaken. Why not announce that today? Why not announce when the Thanksgiving Day games are? It's a Thursday. They could say, oh, wait, it's the final Thursday of March. So let's start thinking about the final Thursday of November to where we can announce the Thanksgiving Day games. I mean, the NFL, they just can't help themselves. They cannot. And I get it. We live in a world of information. We live in a world where we want to know this quick, fast, in a hurry. That when the NBA season, who's going to be the doubleheader to open the season, where we already know that the NBA champ's going to raise the banner to the rafters and the players get their rings, and in the past it was TNT. Yeah, we want to know that game. Or we want to know the National Hockey League when they're going to open up. I know that's the precious few, but you understand where I'm coming from. Baseball opening day is different because there's a million teams. I get it that they've had teams open before opening day. I think off the top of my head, 2016, Mets-Royals, after they faced off for one another in the World Series. Sunday Night Baseball, that was the opening day or opening night game, whatever you want to call it, before opening day the next day. But the NFL, I mean, they just, who cares? Might as well have a game every day of the week. Let's just do that, NFL. Just have all your games spread out throughout the course of the week and just oversaturate your product to the point where it just becomes stale. But I understand with gambling and with fantasy football, that's never going to happen. In-game prop bets, all that, the fans are going to be out of their gourd if that would be the case. But for this NFL fan that has watched football since the mid-'70s, followed it from the days of NFL Review and Preview, the days of Inside the NFL on HBO with Nick Bonacani and Len Dawson, the days of the NFL Game of the Week narrated by Harry Callis and the late, great Steve Sable, who did the NFL Review and Preview the day before, where you got your highlights from games the week prior that I couldn't wait to feast on. The Alcoa. Remember when they used to do Alcoa, the fantastic finishes at the 2-minute warning where they saw the highlight from the week? Trust me, I'm well-versed in all that. And I understand that's 1976. It's 2026, 50 years later. Evolution, TV, technology, streaming, digital, technology. I get it. But do you have to go down this route? Do you have to just pound these games down our throat 6 months before it's even being played? Why have the schedule release day? Why even bother? I can understand leading up to it, you want to leak drips and drabs, fine. But might as well just announce the whole schedule now. I hate to kind of end it on that note, but I mean, the NFL just gets me furious. And I'm only one of a handful. Maybe guys that are my age, older, and a little bit younger, they're probably saying, you know what, JAYREELZ, you're right. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of, what is the game on NBC, Peacock, Amazon, Cooking Channel, Nickelodeon? Come on. All right, let's get to the comments. Let's get to it. Greetings from Bio, of course, and Val B. I'm not sure how my comment got in this live. San Francisco Giants is a better Friday Saturday. Sorry, comment. Nah, Val. It's all good. It's all good. Oh, Leighton Harrington. I don't know if you're still with us. Favorite baseball team? It's the Mets. I mean, maybe it comes back to this. Here are my favorite teams. Mets, baseball, football Steelers, basketball Celtics, hockey Islanders, college basketball Georgetown Hoyas, and college football I don't have a team. And the reason why is because here in the Northeast, college football wasn't and never has been a big thing. What, Rutgers? Well, back in 2006 when they were ranked 2 in the nation at one point, if you could even believe that, and that's a fact. The pandemonium in Piscataway, and I forgot who they beat that night to become number 2, and everybody thought, oh, wait a minute, they could be part of this. Now, this is before the playoff, mind you. And then next week they got whacked. I forgot by who, but anyway. Are the Mets favored? Wow. I mean, because they're at home. Skeens and Peralta. Watched the end of the Giants game, Netflix, got a haircut. Whoops. The Monte Shopping Mall. That reminds me of that mall in Torrance from the movie Jackie Brown, but I know it's not called the Monte. It's still, I'm sure, Bio, you probably know that. Missed first inning, watched the rest of the game. And then the second inning, that's when it all unraveled. Uh-oh. She's up. J-Rod, Auburn missed yesterday, did, and Michigan the game before. Excellent call. I remember Auburn and Michigan State there in the regional final, and it was Michigan the game before. Ugh. So look at that. They handled State of Michigan there. Val saying hello. Yes. Fishing Angel, greetings as always. All right, I'll get past just to make things. Uh-oh. Haven't been in months. Gonna blaze up there. Get the stash. All right, Jay. I hear you. Pistons lost last night, and last second Jalen Duren missed shot. Oh, yeah, I got to get back to your comments, too. I know you mentioned about Jalen Duren for MVP. First loss since Kate Cunningham went down. Well, that's a good sign. Good sign in the sense where it's not like with Cunningham being out, they've gone like 1-5 or whatever. So they have one starter in their team that likes to dunk here. Oh, yeah, the Jeremy Fears. I know I said Sears last time, but for whatever reason, I had Sears on the brain. Michigan State loses. Oh, listen, I hear that. But no, would you like to play them, though, in a – yeah, because on the other side of the bracket. Whoa, imagine Michigan State for a final. Woo! That would be something. Fears horrible player should have been suspended. Yeah. Yeah, I know. He's done it twice. Exactly. And they didn't even – the second time, they didn't even call it. Yeah, I definitely got Michigan. Michigan got a TBS game. Oh, is that right? Oh, I hear that. Good for you, Jay. Still ain't in bed. Yes, by UCLA beat Arkansas. Nolan Richardson. That was Corliss Williamson. I don't know if Scotty Thurman was on that team at that time. Was he still on that team? But I remember that. And then we're talking about Sackhouse and North Carolina. Ed O'Bannon, of course. It was Ed O'Bannon, Charles O'Bannon. Who else was on that team? Toby something or other. Hang on a second. Don't come to me. UCLA 95. Ed O'Bannon, Charles O'Bannon. Ed O'Bannon got drafted by the Nets and was not a good NBA player. Well, I got Toby on the brain. Should I look that up? What the hell? 95 UCLA Bruins. Toby Bailey. Thank you. I knew it was, I was right on the tip of my tongue. It was Toby Bailey. Cameron Dollar. Yep. Tyus Edney. Yeah, had a good team. The O'Bannon brothers. Toby Bailey. Yeah, I couldn't stand Toby Bailey. He was a guy. It was yeah, I think it was like a hybrid guard. He played more point, I believe, but no, Ty Edney was a point guard because he was short, right, 5'10". He was shorter, but yeah, I couldn't. Oh, Toby Bailey, just for whatever reason, I didn't like him. Let's see where we at here. Oh, look at this, Michigan Sports Day. Yes. Wow, that is. Michigan ladies at 12:30, Pistons 5:30, Red Wings. I mean, look, you can't beat that. That's awesome. Just woke up. Wow, UCLA looks like a juggernaut in baseball this year. I haven't followed. Yeah, ABC. Yes. All right, can anyone answer me this? Why are college hockey players drafted by an NHL team but still playing college? Yeah, I think they could choose to elect to do that instead of going to the minor leagues. Because let's just say, for instance, I know the kid Gavin McKenna, who's going to be the number one pick this year, plays at Penn State. Now, he'll probably make the team because he's supposed to be one of these generational players. But I would think they probably have the option to like stay in school or to go minor leagues. That'd be my guess. I don't know for sure, but maybe someone like, hey, I'd rather go back to school, enjoy the college experience. And right, you would think, because in the NBA, obviously there's no minor leagues in the NBA, there's a G League, but you can't do that because it's almost once you hire an agent, and even though, unlike years past, once you hired an agent, that means you automatically had to go in a draft in the NBA, where now you can hire an agent, but then you could not do that and then go back into the transfer portal. But that's a good one with college hockey. That's something I got to look at. But that would be my guess, though, Jay. But that's a good question. Val still in bed, too? All right. Listen, everybody's still in bed. Sharks and Blues. 5 in a row. Sharks, as you know. Not to bring that up to you, Val, but Puka Nacua looking like he's on some. Yeah, I know. Now, the thing is that in reading that report, Nacua said that he had some video footage that makes her claim inconsistent. And I know I didn't talk about that. I should have mentioned that. As a matter of fact, I think I forgot to mention that. Yeah, I did. I didn't talk about that after the NFL. I guess I got so ramped up with the scheduling thing. But yeah, to talk about Puka Nacua, though, like what is he doing with the anti-Semitism? And then he bites this girl on the back in Century City on New Year's Eve. Was he drinking? And I know Bio made a comment about him not being too bright, but come on. Doesn't he realize that he's on the cusp of getting a big-time, life-changing contract similar to what JSN just got there with Seattle? And listen, this is alleged. I don't know how true it is. And as I mentioned, they are saying that the report of inconsistency when it comes to the video footage, I guess maybe he or a friend or whomever he was with was taking video, and maybe things were starting to go awry, and whatever the woman was saying had nothing to do with the video evidence that they have. I don't know, but I just hope that he is innocent, that this isn't any garbage that he's got to deal with, because, come on, Puka, you got to do better than that, if that's the case. Yes. I know, Red Wings hanging in, man. Maybe he can whip his team into shape so he can go to Stanley Cup playoffs. That would be awesome. I know that's going to be a fight to the finish with that wild card race. Red Wings getting booed to Joe. Is that right? Bottom getting booed, huh? I'm surprised. Get their crap together. Yes. Yeah, Little Caesar's not the Joe. I know. Now that I think about Joe Louis, you made me think about Bob Probert, where I know before they before they knocked down the Joe Louis Arena, I know that the late, great Bob Probert, his wife took some of his ashes and dumped it around the penalty box before they knocked it down. And then, of course, they knocked it down. And, I mean, listen, if that isn't perfect to have some of his ashes laid there, then I don't know what is. Yeah, 10 years, that is, coming from that organization, that's a lot. But I'm a realist. The remaining schedule is brutal. I don't see it happening. Really? I got to take a look at that. Okay, if the Red Wings don't go to the Stanley Cup playoffs, then I would like Las Vegas Golden Knights. Oh, yeah, I think the Golden Knights will be in. Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to look at that Red Wings schedule. Yeah, announce it later, NFL. NFL's hungry for views. As if they don't get enough views. That's the thing that bothers me about the NFL. And I understand their content is bulletproof. Listen, you guys know this. I've said it a million times, and I don't have to tell you. But it's just like the thirst is just, I don't know. Maybe it's me. Who knows? Vic, what time was this? 12:06? All right, so you still be on, Vic. Hopefully you got more questions, because I love your questions. Oh, you know what my answer to that is? A big, giant hell no. Should the NFL have an international team? Absolutely not. If they're going to have an international team, now Canadian have their football team. Shout out to Brent Tolman. I haven't spoken to Brent in a while. I hope he's doing well in his family. If they would have an international team, let it be either in Mexico or Canada, not in London. Don't do that. I know London is 5 hours, and that's on the East Coast. But what's going to happen? You have a West Coast team. You got to worry about buys. No, don't do it. So that I am not with you. Should the MLB expand to cities like Nashville or Portland? I'd say yes. I would like to see them go to Montreal, though. Because I know Montreal, there's still people to this day, the aforementioned Brent Tolman, who is a Montreal Expo fan and will never root for the Blue Jays. If Montreal had a team, they would welcome them with open arms, but they need a new stadium. The infrastructure, I don't know. Obviously, I'm not up on what's going on there in Montreal. But yes, I think it should expand to Montreal. Now, I would think. Now, here's the thing. With the A's going to Vegas, and they're going to need two more teams. do you then put one, whether it be Nashville? Nashville will be more in the East or Central because then you have to break up the divisions. And then Portland be West, which they'll have to do. Or if Nashville is going to be Montreal, obviously they'd be East. But yeah, I don't think the MLB should, but I'll say this. If they do that, which means that there will be 16 teams in each league, I know they'll never do it. Never in their right mind they'll do it. But what I would love, if they were to do that, then it should be no interleague. And if there is going to be interleague, it should only be between the rivals. Mets, Yankees, Angels, Dodgers. Now, I know the A's are going to Las Vegas, but A's, Giants, Reds, Guardians. If there's a team in Montreal, Toronto. And I understand you're going to have some fringe, like, oh, what do you do with Colorado? Or what do you do with, I know, San Diego, Seattle. They tried to make that rival, but we know that's not. But all right, you want to keep that? Fine. Arizona, like, who's their rival? They'll never do it. Never, ever. But I would love to have more of an imbalanced schedule where the National League plays against the National League and not the American League. That's just me. But please, that will be a pipe dream that will, J-Rod's on top of it. I love it. Yes, 1 hour. As a matter of fact, now we're listening at 12:21. Yeah, and I'll definitely be off before that because I definitely want to see the introductions, which will probably be around 1:45. What do we have here? Cincinnati, the Bearcats. And that game was in Piscataway. Who did Rutgers lose the week after? That's what I need to know. Oh, here we go. J-Rod's on top of it. That game was 30-11. Rutgers beat Louisville. That's right. It was Louisville. Yes. And you know what? I got news for you. In the back of my mind, I was thinking Louisville. I said, nah, I don't think it is. And sure enough, it was. I swear. Swear on my parents. Wow. But I remember that was a Thursday night game that I remember, and I was out that night, and they actually had it on in the bar I was at. And I was like, wow, they're actually showing a Rutgers game? And they went to number 2 in the nation, and then next week, they lost to Cincinnati, and we're never heard from ever since. Yes, Bio. Yes, and also George Zedek, who's I saw his name on there too. Yeah, Cameron Dollar. No, they were a great team. Has a lot to do with scholarships. Oh. Right, where the NHL player not going to play in the minor leagues, they stay in college. That makes sense. Well, that's stupid. So they can get drafted, stay in school. What if the NHL team needs their service? No, then I don't think the NHL, they will take them. If that's the, yeah. Stop taking my number 1 spot. You're welcome. The banter between J-Rod and Fishing Angel, love it. Sharks have been struggling. Yes, they have. Val. Puka's lawyer said woman called him asking for millions or else she would call TMZ and release the story. You know, I mean, come on. I mean, he does need to do better. But, yeah, that's terrible. Puka, come on. But, yeah, called him asking for millions where, first and foremost, it should have been, this guy bit me, I'm suing. That's it. If it was true. Like this guy, for whatever reason, maybe they met. It was in Century City at a bar, restaurant, whatever, and maybe they were speaking. Who knows? And I don't know why there was anti-Semitism. I know what he said or what was allegedly said. Why it was directed at this woman, or maybe it was directed at somebody else, and the woman was there, and then the woman went over to intervene, and then what? Did Puka bite her on the shoulder? I don't know. It's just weird. Let him cook. My favorite NFL team. Here you go. Ready? Right here. Can you see that? That's a little blurry. But you know, the team that only has one logo on the side, it's a little blurry. Pittsburgh Steelers. NFL international team. Oh, definitely. Yeah, I'm with you 1,000%. I spread my dad's ashes on a little league field that he coached me. Oh, wow, that's cool. Now that's awesome, Vile. Thanks for sharing that. That's really cool. Wow. Yeah, that's really cool. Like to hear that. I mean, not of course your dad passing, but that, yeah. Yeah, they're slipping fast there, Val. For your sake, I hope they do win today. Vic, should it be a maximum age limit for Division I basketball football players? Well, no, with the football players, you got to play at least 3 years. So you're talking about 20, 21 years old. And a maximum age for – yeah, I mean, listen, that's another thing too. I know what you mean by that question now. How I look at it, you can't be past 23. That's it. Because I understand, let's say you get into college at 18, more so for football, because you're getting to college at 18, if you go 3 years, you're 21, you go 4 years, you're 22. All right, if it just so happens you're redshirted or you get so happens you're fifth year senior and you're 23 years old, all right, fine. This 25 years old or this Chris Wenke, 30 years old or whatever, and I know I'm exaggerating. No, I don't want to see Stetson Bennett at 25 winning a national championship. No. So, yeah, maximum age should be 23. 100%. And look, Trinidad Chambliss is coming back. He's going to be a sixth-year player, and he's bounced around a million teams. Ole Miss. That's what happens. Transfer portals, NIL. That's right. You tell him, Fishing Angel. Got to have faith because of oh, look at this. Tommy Pham back in the Mets. Yeah, Tommy Pham is a guy that I would not want to see in an alley. But professional hitter, good teammate, but boy, has the fuse of literally, the fuse of and I could just use this, of an eyebrow hair. West Virginia, the 2 losses. Oh, is that right? West Virginia. JAYREELZ on to college. He's all over that. Oh, wait a minute. I skipped one of your comments here. My bad. I could say after what the Canadians pulled at the Olympics, if they get a new team for any league, I quit. I'm not watching no more. Wait. Canadians pulled at the Olympics? Wait, you talking about the hockey team? Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Did I miss that? Miss that? All right, I'm sure you'll probably post that there. Yeah, because if you could say after what the Canadians pulled after the Olympics. Oh, wait, you're talking about the curling, maybe? So Fishing Angel, yes? Vic, I'll get you a question in a second. That's going to be, I mean, obviously that's a controversial one. Yeah, I'm curious. All right, Vic, here we go. Ready? Solution to translators in college sports. I know the IOC. Let's pull this up here. I know the IOC is now, Jackson Churio out 2 to 4 weeks. Fractured hand. Let's see. Hold on a second. Yeah, IOC bans transgender women ahead of the 2028 Olympics. Yeah, agreed to a new eligibility policy Thursday. I can't even read today, people. My bad. That aligns with the president's executive order on sports ahead of the 2028. I mean, all right, fine. Yeah, I never really had a thought about that. I know. You see, I'm a competitive son of a gun. That's just me. I've always looked at it like, I see your comment, J-Rod. I'll get to that. Yeah, I don't know. And listen, how do I feel about that? What was your question again? Oh, solution to translate college sports? Yeah, I never really gave it a lot of thought, only because it's like, jeez. And maybe the competitive son of a gun, I'm like, hey, be better. Bottom line. is just be better. And I understand you're going to say physical capabilities and this and that, and there's hormone changes, etc. Yeah, I never really gave it much thought. And I know you asked that, and that's a good question, Vic. But me, the solution to that is, all I want to say is let them, if that's what they want to do, and they want to, because I know that swimmer from Penn, I know that was a big story a few years back, how this trans woman had won all these titles, whatever, and there was an outroar and an outrage over that, whatever. And there's a part of me that says, well, hey, just be better. And I get it, but I'm not, to me, I have to give that a little bit more thought. Because how I look at it is that, hey, if that person transitions and they want to play sports and to be banned, you still got to be good. You still got to be functional, just because. And listen, I'm just throwing out an example. Just because there's a trans person that wants to play, let's say, in a WNBA, I mean, I don't know. What's you going to ban that person? I mean, they still got to be able to shoot a ball. They still got to be able to. I mean, again, I got to really think about that. All right, yes, what the Canadian citizens did to American hockey players. What did they do? I didn't even hear about that. Oh, hang on. Oh, they built Hellebuy's first game at the Olympics, and other players are garbage. I don't pay any mind. They booed him because obviously he's a USA player and they're playing the Canadian soil, and he plays for the Winnipeg Jets. So they're going to boo him? What the hell? I don't care. That doesn't bother me. That does not bother me. All right, I'm sorry. If you were born with penis, you have no right to compete against women, period. Still doesn't make him any good, though, but yeah, because just because you're right. I mean, I get what you're saying there, Jay. But yeah, because let's say, right, if you could be a guy that's 6'7", and you transition, but you never touch the basketball until late in life. But does that make you a great basketball player? I don't know. I mean, listen, like I said, I haven't really given it much thought because to me, I'm not one to be like, hey, she's won all these tournaments, or this woman to transition that, oh, yeah, that's fine, whatever, let her win all the titles. I mean, okay. Is it right? Is it wrong? I mean, listen, did that person choose the right to do that? Human being, that's what he wants to do, whatever. I mean, I just don't. And that's Fishing Angel says the best. Now, the thing is that there's not enough of those. There's not enough trans people to play in those sports. So, but I see what you're saying. But that's right. We're all human, right? It's Fishing Angel. You always have the antidote to say the right thing. Who knows? Unless, right, if it impacts like pro sports, then maybe I would, I have to give it more thought, but yeah. Will college conferences still be relevant in the future? Well, I would say yes, but there's only going to be, in college football, right now there's just two conferences. I understand there's ACC and there's the Big 12 and whatever, but we all know the powerhouse conferences are the SEC and the Big 10. I don't know. I would probably say yes to that. 20 years from now, it could be a different story. But I have to say yes. Let's see. Do you see the transvestite that put his finger in the lady who was wrestling? No, why did he put the finger in? Now, why did he do that? So, wait. So, this trans wrestler put his finger in a lady. Oh, sorry, I'm assuming a lady wrestler? Now, was that intentional? That's what we need to find out. See, I don't know that story. Yeah, I understand that's a lightning rod. And again, I'll be honest, I never really gave it much thought. I saw that thing with the ILC and that. All right, fine. They're going to do that. Okay. Does it suck for the few I don't even know. I don't even know, to be honest with you, I couldn't even tell you if there's a trans athlete that even performed in this past Olympics or that's even preparing themselves to play in 28. I don't know. And that's honest. Because we wouldn't know if there's this person or that. Then I'd be like, okay, now we know. But he out his finger. Oh, he put his leg. Right, but that was during the wrestling match. That had to be accidental, no? New uniforms for the Commanders? They just got a new logo and all that. Now got to have new uniforms? All right. WNBA struck a new deal despite the fact that the league has never made a profit. Well, the reason why is because they become more popular now than ever, and they just signed a media rights deal that was lucrative for the WNBA. So that's why they struck a new deal, because if they didn't, they would have been, forget it. I will send you the video. Okay. Stop, and no one stops. Oh, really? Oh, geez. All right. I mean, I got to know better, but all right. Women, men need to respect women. Oh, without question. Absolutely. And even those that do transition, I mean, 100%. But, yeah. Good questions there, Vic. I love your questions, man. Keep it coming. Let's see. Anything else happen here? Brady on NFL on comeback. NFL. Tom Brady says he asked NFL about possible comeback. What? Tom Brady says he explored the possibility of coming out of retirement and returning to the NFL, adding that the league did not like that idea very much. What? The NFL said no? Brady, who last played in 2022, is currently a minority owner of the Raiders. That's probably the reason why. And he would have to relinquish that if that's the case. No surprise there. Emphasized in a recent interview with CNBC that he is very happily retired. All right, so that squashes that idea. He said he actually inquired. They don't like the idea very much, so I'm going to leave it at that. We explored a lot of different things. I'm very happily retired. Let me just say that too. I mean, yeah. But I wonder why. I would love to know why the NFL did not like that idea very much. Why? Because he has 5% stake in the Raiders? Is because he's older and they're afraid of him getting seriously injured? Which we all know the rules protect the quarterback. I'm curious. But I guess we're never going to find out because he's happily retired and that's it. End of story. Let's see. Commanders, April 15th. All right. Oh, no, J-Rod. I didn't sense that in the least. Yeah, I mean that. I didn't sense it in the least. Commanders' new logo. Didn't know that? Oh, the Brady thing? Brady is an NFL announcer. He's grown on me. He still doesn't really like his presence because it's the voice. And not to say you have to, have this booming voice or sound like John Madden. No, but no, I like Brady and Romo, that's for sure. Roma has everything figured out prior to the snap, and sometimes he doesn't even know the rules. He doesn't even know. Every play's a big play. I could care less about you when you're forced to acknowledge. Forced to acknowledge it? Yeah, people are going to do that. I mean, that's kind of crazy if they're going to force you to acknowledge it. You know, obviously, they're going to say, hey, this is what I deem myself, and then that's that. I mean, right, if they're going to keep on, then it's like, whoa. Like, we get it, but comes down to one thing in my book. It's about respect is earning. That's 100%. Hey. 100%. Uh-oh. NFL's new rules coming? Yes, he is, Val. New rules coming in 2026. I wonder what those new rules are. Should I look at the NFL page? As much as I've killed him and cursed at him and All right, let me see something. Hold on one second. I'm going to go to NFL.com. Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm going to step away to turn on the TV, if you don't mind, guys. All right. No, I don't see anything there. Let's go back here. Oh, that's a good one, Vic, too. I thought Titans got new logo. Yes, they did. They actually went back to like the Houston Oilers colors, which that I like. This is a very interesting question. Now, we all know what this is about. It's about merchandise, selling more jerseys, and quite frankly, I can't stand it. I'll be frank, I hate the black Met jersey. Hate it. All these Met fans, oh, I love the black. Oh, I can't stand it. And they wear it on Friday nights. Hate it. What I even hate more, and damn them for doing this, my beloved Boston Celtics. And this isn't where I respect the Yankees. And you know how bad I feel about them. The Yankees always stick to their pinstripes at home and the gray road with the New York across. They don't get cute with all these uniforms. I understand the Players Weekend a long time ago, or a few years ago, they had like the all-white jersey, but that was based on MLB. That had nothing to do with the Yankees. Yankees have the two uniforms. That's it. Over, out, done. Celtics, we got to have a black uniform. Celtics got to have a gray uniform. Celtics got to have this. It's like, what? Celtics should just have the green and white, white on green, end of story. And I understand for many years, they had the Celtics across, and then recently they've had the Boston across, which dating back to the 50s and 60s, they had the Boston across. And the reason why they changed it, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, is because later on, as crazy as Boston was with racism, etc., they say that, yeah, we may play for the city, but we play more for the team. And that's the Celtics as opposed to the city. So they changed it. They changed it from having the road green Boston to where it just said Celtics. But now they have it Boston on the front. And still, they also have the Celtics too. Which that's fine. If they want to go wear the green and white or the green and white roads or the white on green roads and wear Boston across, fine. I have no problem with that. Don't bring 800 different colors into the mix. And, I just hate it. Hate it. And Bio, I'm sure you feel the same way. 1 million Laker jerseys. I mean, seriously? All right, if you want to tribute to the Minneapolis Lakers with the blue, okay, I dig that. As a throwback, fine. I hate the Laker uniform that has the Los Angeles going up like in a triangle and then the Lakers on the bottom. What is that? I don't even like the white Laker uniform that they usually wear on Sundays. Now I think they wear more on other days too. I don't like that uniform. Wear the home purple, the home gold and the road purple. End of story. That's it. Over, done, out. None of this purple with the black on the side. None of this Los Angeles Lakers on the top with the number on the bottom. Negative. I can't stand it. I hate it. But I love that question, Vic, because, yeah, I can't. We got a lot of comments here. Hold on. All right, after this, I got to turn on the TV, people, and then I'm going to sign off a couple minutes after that. Thank you, Val, as always. Lions have a new logo coming. I hope not. No, they should keep it what they have. I love their colors. Keep it the way it is. Dodger Stadium needs its field for the first time. Oh, no, is that right? Bye. How do you feel about that? I think it would be cool if they went back to the old school logos. I'll say this. When the Steelers changed their uniforms in 1997, I hated it. The rounded numbers and all that. No. I like the old block letters and numbers. None of this rounded nonsense. I've grown over the years. And one thing I do love about the Steelers that they don't break tradition, they wear their home black jerseys. I hate it that a lot of these teams early in the season when it's hot, where they wear like that's like the Cowboys wearing blue, and I know they wear blue on Thanksgiving, but that's like week one at the games in Dallas, they're wearing blue opening night. No! What are we doing? Or the Jets wearing blue, or the Jets wearing white in their home opener. No, you wear green. I can't stand that. But I'm with you, Jay. Yes, Robert Davis out. Dunzo. NFL's always on reviews. Stop getting. Yes, Val, I'm with you 100%. Yeah, they are. And you can't do anything about it. Unless you look at Yankee Stadium is just Yankee Stadium. Madison Square Garden is Madison Square Garden. I understand the new stadium for the Mets, City Field. I just hate when they keep changing them. Like, to me, Staples Center is Staples Center. Not this crypto.com, and I understand you got to call it crypto. No. And when they change these stadiums all the time, Vic, I agree. Thursday night game, new uniform, Sunday night game. Yeah, I can't stand it. Yeah, I know the Giants, they've had their uniforms over the years. Yeah, same here. Oh, yeah, that'll be terrible. Yeah, it'll be whatever. Pepsi Field at the Big House or something. Ugh. It shouldn't matter what uniform you wear in sports. As long as you can play the sport, that's all that matters. No, I hear you, Fishing Angel. But that's like, let's say if Michigan, we all know their colors. They wear the maize and the blue, but the blue at home, of course. But that's like if Michigan opened up the season and they're wearing a black jersey. I mean, what is that? Or they're wearing some funky hybrid of like a maize jersey with the blue and the... Yeah, Panda Express Field at the Big House. That would be it. Hang on, guys. I'm just going to turn on the TV. I mean, it's terrible. I can't stand it. Yeah, like all these jerseys and all these names for these arenas and stadiums, and I'm just an old man. That's what it boils down to, because the young kids, they could care less. But to me, I like to know where they're at. Oh, here we go. Yeah, Bo Bichette. All right, let me mute this because I don't want to get copyright. Because I'm about to sign off because I know they're going to do the player introductions in a moment. So I want to see that. So, yeah, let's see. Yeah, and the Warriors have 1 million jerseys too, but everybody does. It's not just them. The Lakers, the Celtics, the Knicks have 1 million the City Connect jersey, baseball at the City Connect. And I hate that Met City Connect that's gray and it just looks ugly. Gray and pink. Nothing against the colors, but it just Yes. But again, merchandising. Stupid, dumb, that's for sure. Or bank, credit union, yeah, big corporation. I know. It's awful. Wait, so it could be called Pokemon Stadium, and that's all right. Me, I'd have a problem. I'd be like, imagine that City Field is Pokemon Stadium. I'd be like, what the hell is this? Thank you, Fishing Angel. Vic, positive thought for the weekend. Yeah, I don't want to repeat because like I was thinking about something I said a couple weeks ago. Positive thought for the weekend. Hey, just remember to show gratitude in some way, shape, or form. Not necessarily to your neighbor or stranger or whatever, but just be grateful for something. Because I know in this fast world we live in, and especially in where I live in New York City, forget it. But in the fast world we live in, sometimes we got to take a step back, take a deep breath, and just be grateful that either we're alive, we're breathing, we're winning in that regard. And yeah, I think that'd be it. Vic, thank you for your questions, man. Fishing Angel, yes, you too. Mets, you got the win. Let's go. Yeah, they better win today. Okay, I'm not going to make Jay Mrs. Mets. Yeah, that's all right. Hey, you guys, you do it for me. He hasn't started yet. Now, you guys have done it for me. Obviously, Bio, watching UCLA and coming on board, and you the other day with Michigan. Come on. But at the same time, right, but I want to be present here. I don't want to be like, oh, hey, what's happening here? And then going back and forth. I'm not going to do that. That's unfair to you guys, so you already know. But, yes, thank you, Val. As always, thank you, everybody. Blaine University of Oregon. I know. Yeah, with their crazy colors. And, yep, exactly. Last one, I'll sponsor the Big House. Then it'll be called the Damages House of Michigan. I'm all for that. I like that. Yes, Val. JAYREELZ, I'm a Boba Fett fan. Can't do. Yes, let's see what he does. I know they were just talking about it on the news. I turned it on. I guess they're doing a little preview there. But yes, I think that's good. I think that's funny too. All right, my good people, that'll do it. Another podcast episode in the books. As always, thank you so much for stopping by. Carving out precious time out of your day to listen to what it is I have to say about what goes on in the wonderful toy department of life called sports. And if you're unaware, not familiar, so on and so forth, of the channel, of the podcast, well, this is your time to subscribe to the channel because I'm on Mondays and Thursdays with a podcast live, Wednesday live stream at 12, the final 5 days or the 31 days of live streaming for the month of March. So I don't know when I'm going to pop up tomorrow, Saturday, Sunday. You're just going to have to hit that notification bell. I know it hasn't worked for you guys, which is weird, but you got to keep it locked here on the channel. Also on Apple, Spotify. Please throw me a few stars, write a review. I'd sincerely appreciate it. This is independent sports talk at its finest. A lifelong sports fan. For you guys and gals, a sports fan without the clickbait, without the rage bait, without any of that garbage. You're not going to get that from me. Just true, passionate sports talk made by a sports fan for you guys and gals, a sports fan again. And if you want to hit me up with any questions, comments, suggestions, my social media accounts are Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, the JAYREELZ Podcast, or JAYREELZ on Instagram. Twitter, JAYREELZ1, just the number. Twitch, JAYREELZ1, just the number. The old-fashioned way, the JAYREELZ Podcast at gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to follow up with you guys and gals because whether you do or do not know, this is what I love to do, people. It's in the blood, in the DNA, talking sports since birth. Because where else are you going to get all these sports? College basketball, NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, you name it. Golf, tennis, boxing, MMA. I got you all covered, people. Because as long as I'm in front of this camera and microphone, I promise I will deliver nothing but passion, fire, energy, fury, my thoughts, opinions, critiques, praise, analysis, feelings on anything and everything that happens on the world of the diamond, ice, gridiron, hardwood, golf course, racetrack, tennis court, boxing ring, octagon, you name it. From my lips to yours, from my heart to your soul, from where I am to wherever you are. The JAYREELZ Podcast always comes live, correct, direct, and in full effect. From the South Bronx, the South Beach, the South Central, the South Pacific, and all points beyond. Peace, love, and God bless everybody. And until next time on the JAYREELZ Podcast, on the flip, baby. Now, let me get to the last of these comments real quick. Can I see a few? I know everybody's saying goodbye. Have a great day. Tell the wife I said hello. I will do that. That's it. I'm not going to make Jay late. Yes, have a great day. Bio, Blaine and Lisa. Oh, wait, I already did that one. Hold on. That's funny, babe. Oh, here we go. J-Rob, Fisher, Bob. Oh, yeah, those are my guys. And I know we're missing a couple of others, too, but they're here also. Thank you, Val. Oh, look at me in appearance. Ah, jeez. All right, Mark. All right. Whatever you say. Yes, thank you, guys. 10 minutes. All right. Oh, I had a commercial, so I'm probably going to come out of commercial from what you call it. He's going to make the start of the Mets game go sports. Yes, I will. You guys are the best, man. Yes, the three-peat rolls on. Diamondbacks, Dodgers tonight, NBC or Peacock. Here I am giving a promo for the network and the streaming service. But love you guys. Much love and respect. Thank you so much as always. Until next time on The Flip.